for that question. So we indeed continuing with the plain vanilla bonds that we started off last year. We have this MTN program. We have only issued one tranche, and I think we are going to issue a couple of others. The whole intention was to issue 3 tranches, but markets have since shifted, and we are unable to go to the market this year because the interest rates have shifted a little higher, particularly on the sovereign, and that just makes it practical for us to issue. But now coming to your question, we have an intention of issuing a green bond. So we've started on our sustainability journey. And in fact, we are looking at issuing within the MTN program that we have a green bond as one of the other tranches. Now, but for that to happen, we have to have visibility of properties that are green for us to refinance on. And therefore, we are now working with our counterparts on the supply side on the development of green affordable housing. Now, we started off with that last year. We're building a stock. It's not sufficient right now, just as yet, but we're just looking at, building a stock of green affordable housing for us to invest. Now, I think that is in the near term. In the medium term, we'll actually be looking into ABS, so it's securitization. We already have a framework in Kenya on securitization, and that will include potentially issuing of mortgage-backed securities. But we have a bit of work to do to get there because we need a bit of standardization in our mortgage origination practices for us to be able to go securitization. So essentially, that's the roadmap that we have. So our focus on over-collateralization is essentially part of a risk management framework that we have. But how did we come up at that number? It's a rule of thumb. 10 to 20% over-collateralization is actually an appropriate over-collateralization for credit enhancement. So it's really not a measure that we've determined on our own, but I think that's actually what we consider a rule of thumb. So any rating agency will consider that an appropriate over-collateralization margin for purposes of credit enhancement, and therefore that's why we arrived at that number. The idea is the difference between the values of the loan you have and the over-collateralization margin actually should be able to cover the losses that potentially should there be a default. So, and that already does. When you look at the average portfolio we hold, it's actually on a 35% LTV, which is very low. That means we have effectively managed the risk very significantly, and that's because of the over-collateralization. So we believe the margin we have currently of 20% is actually the kind of margin a credit rating agency will want to look at. And last year, we got a rating from a rating entity called GCR in Kenya, and that's actually one of the areas that they looked at.